Greetings everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bite Size History on History with Audrey D. In today's lesson, we're going to be taking a look at the Han Dynasty of ancient China. Now, if you are enjoying these lessons so far, please make sure you're hitting that like and subscribe button. Find me on Instagram as History with Audrey D, and you can support this channel further through the links in my bio as well as the description below. Now let's go ahead and get into our lesson on the Han Dynasty of ancient China, its rise and its fall. What happens after an empire is built? Does it collapse under its own weight or evolve into something greater? The Han Dynasty answered that question. Where the Qin unified China through force, the Han transformed that unity into something more lasting, something cultural, intellectual, and deeply rooted in identity. In many ways, the Han did not just rule China, they defined it. After the fall of the Qin dynasty, China once again descended into conflict. Out of this instability rose an unlikely leader, Liu Bang. Unlike Qin Huang, Liu Bang did not come from an elite aristocratic background. He was of relatively humble origins, a reminder that periods of instability can open pathways that would otherwise remain closed. When he established the Han Dynasty in 206 BCE, he faced a critical challenge. How do you maintain control over a unified empire without repeating the mistakes of the Qin? The Han solution was not to abandon Qin systems, but to adapt them. While the Qin relied heavily on legalism, the Han incorporated Confucianism into governance. Confucianism emphasized moral leadership, social harmony, and respect for hierarchy and tradition. This created a more stable ideological foundation for rule. But it's important not to oversimplify this shift. The Han did not replace legalism with Confucianism. They blended them. Strict laws and centralized authority remained, but were now justified and guided by moral philosophy. One of the most important developments during the Han Dynasty was the expansion of a system for selecting government officials based on knowledge. This laid the foundation for what would later become the civil service examination system. In theory, this allowed individuals to rise based on merit rather than birth. In practice, education required resources, meaning elite families still held significant advantages. So while the system opened opportunities, it did not create full equality. It did, however, strengthen the state by emphasizing education, administration, and continuity. Under Emperor Wu, the Han expanded their territory significantly, particularly into Central Asia. This expansion helped establish and secure the Silk Road. Despite its name, the Silk Road was not a single road. It was a vast network of trade routes connecting China to regions across Asia, the Middle East, and even indirectly to the Mediterranean world. Through these routes, China exported goods such as silk and imported items like horses, glassware, and new ideas. This was not just economic exchange. It was cultural connection. The Han period saw major advancements that shaped everyday life. One of the most important was the development of paper. Before paper, writing materials were expensive and less practical. Paper made record-keeping, communication, and the spread of knowledge more accessible. Other advancements included improvements in agriculture, metallurgy, and medicine. But it's important to recognize a limitation in our understanding. Most written records from the Han come from elite perspectives. This means that while we know a great deal about emperors and officials, The daily experiences of ordinary people must often be reconstructed through archaeology and inference. Han society was hierarchical, with clear social structures for classes. At the top were emperors and elite officials, followed by landowners, peasants, artisans, and merchants. Interestingly, merchants, despite their wealth, were often viewed with suspicion because they profited from trade rather than producing goods directly. This reflects Confucian values, which placed higher importance on agriculture and social stability. Over time, the Han faced increasing challenges: corruption within the court, growing power of wealthy landowners, and economic strain on peasants. One of the most significant uprisings was the Yellow Turban Rebellion in the late 2nd century CE. This rebellion was not just a military conflict, it was a symptom of deeper instability within the empire. As central authority weakened, regional leaders gained more power. By 220 CE, the Han Dynasty collapsed, and China once again entered a period of division. The Han Dynasty's influence extended far beyond its lifespan. It shaped government structure, cultural identity, and intellectual traditions. Even today, the majority ethnic group in China identifies as Han Chinese. That level of lasting influence is rare in history. The Han Dynasty did something the Qin could not. It made empire sustainable. By blending structure with philosophy, power with legitimacy, and governance with culture, the Han transformed a political system into a civilization. The Han gave China its identity, but when that identity fractured, it would take centuries to rebuild. And in that rebuilding, China would be transformed once again. I hope you enjoyed this lesson on the Han Dynasty of ancient China, and that it helped you better understand a little bit more about Chinese history. If you did enjoy this lesson and this channel so far, please make sure you're hitting the like and subscribe button. And if you'd like to support this channel further, you can find links in my bio as well as the description below. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I will see you in our next lesson.